Hey my fellow golf ball addicts, how are we doing? I have an updated review of one of my favorite golf balls I've ever tested on the channel. That's the Srixon Q-Star Tour Divide. Also, I like to call it the Mick Golf Ball. Let's dive right in. So yeah, one of my favorites to test on the channel for sure. You know, these came out a few years ago, and you know, I never was around in the 80s to see the ping version of this golf ball where they made it, you know, half and half. But that's kind of what's cool about generational differences is you can have something that was really cool 40, 50 years ago, and then it comes back in style because a whole new generation's never seen it before. And that happens with clothes, and it happens with music and all kinds of stuff. And so it's really cool to see it on a golf ball as well. But these came out, instant success. People loved them. They were selling them like hotcakes. I tested it. It ended up being a top 10 golf ball in our top 100 list. I absolutely love it. It was an amazing value at $32.99 a dozen, and it really performed well for the average swinger. However, here we are a couple years later, and there's a couple things that have changed. One, they've released a couple new updates. Last year, they came up with an updated model, and it changed the price to $35 a dozen, which was still really competitive, considering, you know, inflation and COVID and everything that's happened. $35 was perfectly fine. However, now they've come out again, and this is a newer model, of course, for 2024, and now we are looking at, unfortunately, $39.99 a dozen, and that kind of takes it out of the value market now as far as, it's still a value tour ball, but instead of being in that lower bracket where it's like, wow, this is a great value for this level of ball, it's just kind of average. It's right in there with what it is. Now, what does save Srixon is that they do offer a couple times a year, buy two, get one free. If that's the case, you definitely want to stock up then, and it becomes a really, really good deal at that point. But otherwise, you know, at $39.99 a dozen, personally, you know, there's a lot of options now that are less than that that have tested really, really well. So I have to kind of hold it to a little bit higher of an expectation. So the Q-Star Tour Divide is a three-piece urethane golf ball. The Divide option is matte. However, they do make the regular version. We can just get into the design of the golf ball. Let's start first of all with the regular version, which honestly might need a testing of its own. We'll get to more of that at the end of the video, but it's actually, it has a very good technology called Spin Skin. Srixon's been using this for years. It actually works pretty good. It really bites on the green. It really reacts really well. I've tested it with their golf balls and really enjoy it. They always have good bite around the green. It's definitely a success for sure. But however, these Divide models are matte. So even though they are brightly colored and everything, people do wonder about the durability of matte balls. They wonder how they stick a green. I'll talk more about that later as well. But as you can see, this is what they do. And the Divide comes in three different colors. The regular comes in just two, white and yellow, as you can see. But the Divide comes in three. It comes with the orange and yellow. It comes with the red and yellow, otherwise known as the Mick Golf Ball, and the blue and yellow. Actually, the red and yellow is my least favorite of all of them, but it was the only one the store had when I bought them, so now I'm stuck with them. Not that it's bad, but it's just, it really does remind me of you know what. So, but let's look at the front of the golf ball. On the front there, it says Srixon Q-Star Tour. You know, not a great logo. I don't like that they put that on the front, but they kind of have to because the whole point of the Divide is that you're not gunking it up with letters, so I understand that. But you know what? The contrast looks really good against the yellow. I love the number there. It's really bright. It's vivid. It's fun. You come around to the other side, it looks just as good on the red as well. It looks fantastic. I mean, that contrast, as far as how it looks up against, you know, the matte, it's just, it really pops. It really does. It's a unique golf ball. The whole point of this golf ball is it's supposed to be unique. It's supposed to be different, and it really is. It looks fantastic. It feels fantastic, and that's one of the reasons I loved it so much the first time. So without further ado, let's get out to the chipping and the putting green, and let's see how it does out there. All right, so before I get started, one quick thing that's really cool about these golf balls is I always recommend them to people for like training aids and training tools, because the thing is, whether you're chipping or putting with it, you can use this Divide to your advantage. You say you're chipping, you want to know, am I closing the face a little bit too much? Am I leaving it open? What kind of spin am I getting? You're able to line this up, hit your chip shot, and actually get feedback and see whether or not your chip is actually going straight. Maybe you are closing the face a little bit too much. Maybe you're opening it and hitting too much of a cut. Things like that really do help beginner golfers, intermediate golfers, even some pros, even some people who play D1 college. I've actually been out on the green with, and I've been like, hey, do you know what you're doing? Do you have any idea? No, they don't know. And then I put a ball down like this, they hit it, and they go, oh, as left spin. It happens. Some of us don't know. That's the thing about golf, is it's really difficult to tell when you're doing something wrong yourself sometimes. So this is an amazing alignment tool, not just for putting, but for chipping, for hitting, getting feedback. Even if you decide not to use it, it's still really a great, you can just get a sleeve of them and have it for that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go ahead and chip first. And this doesn't have to be perfect. You know, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put it down. I'm gonna do our normal test we do. Hit the first one here and let's see what kind of feedback we get. Yeah, I mean, and you know what's really cool about that? I don't know if you could see it on the camera, but that golf ball was completely rolling 110% exactly the way the alignment was, which is really cool. Now, on the other hand of that, if I take this golf ball and I hit a little bit of a cut here, completely different style. Now, one thing I will tell you is that the spin on that golf ball was absolutely incredible. All right, I'm gonna go back to our old camera angle here for a second, just because the amount of spin was so cool. It was so high that I just wanna make sure that wasn't a fluke. All right, let's open the face here, hit a cut. That's just insane. Basic chip. A little too hot, didn't quite hit it right. Excellent. All right, so definitely gonna be trying the alignment tool here. It's not gonna be the sole purpose, but I'm definitely just gonna try to get a general idea here when I put this down. I got a decent alignment on it, so let's just go ahead and give it a try. Of course, as always, we start out with the mallet putter, thick, heavy. Let's see how the feel is. Definitely get a good roll here. Okay, so left. You know, honestly, it has a really good roll, 9 out of 10. A little bit of chug effect in there. It still is a soft golf ball, but it's not as soft as the past. They actually have done a little tweaking and improved it a little bit. Let's go ahead and definitely try another one here. Yeah, it's definitely more of a dead feel. It's not got a click to it. There's not a lot of feedback. It feels like a more softer golf ball for sure, like a lot of two-piece softer ones. Try to get one in the hole here. Ooh, baby. Yeah, not bad. Let's see if there's any difference with the blade putter now for sure. All right, so now blade putter style, more older. I think this one's, you know, definitely 15 years old at the minimum. But let's definitely just try to see if it has a little bit more of a click, a little bit more feedback, because I didn't get that with the mallet putter. Look at that roll. Get in the hole. Oh, it just breaks more than I thought. That's all. Yeah, I definitely would say it is. I think with the blade putter, the roll's actually a little bit better. I like it a lot. It's a really good golf ball. It doesn't blow me away. I just got done testing the MaxFly line, and that golf ball was like a 10 out of 10 around on the green. But as far as the chipping, the putting, everything's really, really good. I was surprised how much spin this golf ball truly had. It's really phenomenal when you think about the fact that it is a matte golf ball. It doesn't have a thick coating that's sticky. It was able to grip the green very, very well. Definitely better than some even value tour balls I've played recently. And yeah, a lot of great stuff here. You know, nothing mind-blowing, but, you know, putter overall, 8 to 9 out of 10 somewhere in there, and the wedge was really good too. I'd say 9 out of 10. So it really impressed me, and it continues to make small improvements over the years. Let's get out there and let's see what the actual performance metrics are now. Hopefully those continue to be good as well. We're on a great start. All right, so one interesting thing about the feel of this golf ball across all clubs is that it does feel slightly more tourish. And what I mean by that is it doesn't have this soft, squishy feel anymore where it really like rockets off the club. It has a little bit of like tour level response where it's just a slightly bit firmer. It does come off with a lot of power, but it's more about feeling whether or not you hit it at 100% center or a little off or a lot of off. It really provides a lot of feedback there. But one thing I did notice is that it did affect the forgiveness. When I tested this golf ball the first time, I had a lot of forgiveness packed in. I really did. This time around, not as much, which isn't a terrible thing. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but I do like having that forgiveness, especially on these softer compression golf balls. It really usually helps a lot of beginner or intermediate players. So we'll have to see based on the performance numbers. You know, the MaxFly, what we ran into an issue with is that used to, they were for the average guy who wanted a tour light golf ball value, but now they've kind of moved in 2024 to no, we want pros playing again. And so they did this shift where now they want advanced players. And so my only question is that what Srixon's thinking as well? Are they taking this golf ball and saying, you know what, we want people who swing 75 mile an hour or higher, but are really, really good golfers, like really scratch players. So we'll get into testing that as well. Let's start, as always, with the 50-yard pitch. All right, so getting into the 50-yard pitch, we had 6,943, which that's actually well below my average, but there is more to the story than just that. So two things. The first one is I do wonder how the actual regular version with the spin skin technology and having that polyurethane coating on the outside would affect that spin. I do have a couple of those. I think that the separate test would really do this ball a lot of good just to compare the two. If you want to see that, make sure you let me know in the comments below, please, because I really do. I don't do that a lot of the time, but I think that it would really benefit here. The second thing is that this golf ball has a lot of spin variation, okay? So I test a lot of golf balls, and one of the things I look for is consistency in the spin. I'm not perfect. I don't hit the center every single time, but I want to know if I'm doing a 50-yard pitch and I mishit it, am I getting, 6,000 instead of 7,000, or am I getting 3,000, which is a huge difference. That's the difference between your golf ball hitting and stopping and hitting and shooting and rolling off the back of the green. And so that consistency and forgiveness on those mishits really matters. I noticed a lot of variation here, and both good variation and bad variation. And what I mean by that is that, yes, my average ends up being 7,000, but on mishits, there was a couple of them I had to delete that were like 3,000 RPM. Really rough. I hardly ever see that low from a 50-yard pitch. It's just insane. Now, some of them were 4,000, 5,000, but here's the other thing. There was a couple I really struck pure, and I even got 11,000 RPM. Now, if you're new to the channel, I've not done that before. That's insane. I think the most I've seen out of even a pure strike is like 8,700. So we jumped from 8,700 to 11,000 because the golf ball just spun like a mother trucker. I mean, it was incredible. What that means is that it's really tough for a beginner player, an intermediate player, because again, you don't know what your golf ball is going to do. If you mishit it, you're looking at 3,000 or 4,000 RPM, but if you hit it really pure, you're looking at 11,000 and you're actually having it rip back to you a few feet. It's impossible to gauge how it's going to do, and the reason I bring it up is because I've never seen this big of a disparity. I've seen little disparities in the past, but not like where it's just so from all the way from A to Z. It's insane. So I'm a little nervous about that. We'll keep testing that further, but let's go ahead and get into the 9-iron. Let's see how that one does. 1.34, that is the highest I have tested so far. That's actually really incredible for a smash factor. 134.2, that's amazing distance. 134.9, that's amazing total. That's awesome to see. 101.8 is actually not a lot of ball speed, to be honest with you. I mean, it is better than my average, but the fact that I was still able to get so much distance out of it's really cool. 6,533, so again, low spin. More on that in a second. 21.9 on your launch, so it actually wanted to launch low, which is not what the golf ball's advertised to do, but again, it could be that I'm maybe swinging a little too fast for it. But honestly, again, touching on the spin, I just wanted to reiterate that again, I had that issue. A lot of disparity. Some that were 3,000 or 4,000 and a couple that were like 7,500. A lot of disparity in there. And again, it's tough when I'm on a green to know exactly what my golf ball is going to do. I just want a little more consistency with that. I mean, there's even two-piece golf balls that I get way more consistency with, but distance numbers are really good. Love, the launch angle's fine. It's a little low, but still, I don't have a problem with that being penetrating. And ball speed's above average. So let's move on to the 7 now and see how that does. 1.43 on your smash factor, which again, that's the highest I've tested so far. So excellent smash factor. 163.6 on your total distance, which is a gain of about 7-8 yards. That's pretty incredible. 167.2, that's a 10-yard gain. 115.9, about 3-mile-an-hour gain, and then 4,946. So again, low spin, again, consistently seems to be the case with all the clubs so far. But really the kicker here in all this is that launch angle. So, the lowest launch angle I've had with my 7-iron, and I'm just going to look through this real quick. I had a 15.2 one time. It's on a golf ball that I didn't even release the review because frankly it was so bad. I'm saving it for a rainy day. But as far as a golf ball review you guys have seen, I mean, 16.3. I mean, that's insanely low. My average is 18.2. So 14.8, excuse me, is nuts. That's so low, but it is the reality. When I was hitting the golf shots over and over and over, it got to a point where there was a couple times I kept looking back and it was 12, 13, and I'm like, what's going on here? So I kind of had to hit a couple fades. I don't know why it's launching low. Maybe my swing speed's not meshing with it now. It's been a couple years. But as far as the distance numbers goes, as far as all that other stuff, that's pretty incredible. Let's move to the 5 hybrid now. Now the smash factor, 1.43. It's actually tied for the best. So, I mean, that's something really important to keep in mind, guys, that the smash factor's been amazing through all these, and that's really good stuff. 183.1, gain in distance, 187, great. 126.1, amazing. 47, 45. Again, low spin. It's very consistent in that regard. Despite the fact that there's so much variation in the spin, it is actually just consistently launching low. It is just consistently having low spin. And as you can see, another extremely low launch. So that's now telling that it's consistent. You know, sometimes there are flukes. I'm not perfect by any means. And so sometimes we will have an issue where, you know, the 9 iron is, you know, a mid launch, and, you know, the 7 iron's a mid high launch, and then the 5 hybrid's a really, really, really low launch, and then the driver's a high launch. And most of the time, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I'll take that one out and say, okay, that could be me. I'm human. I make mistakes. But low, extremely low is consistent. So that's really interesting there. But let's go ahead and get into the driver. Let's see how the driver does. So far, amazing distance numbers throughout the board. We have a 1.46 smash factor, which is still pretty good. It's above average, 221.4. Lost 2 yards on the average. 231.6, only lost 1 yard there. 140.4, so again, you know, right in line with average. 24.09, right in line with average. And 13.8, it launched really, really low. So that just seems to be the case across all clubs. Spin was a little bit better on disparity there, but still pretty bad. You know, average across the board. Interesting numbers. I love the distance, but there are some other things in there that I'm not a big fan of. I'll touch on that in the conclusion, but yeah, I mean, overall, a really good performance. I mean, some stuff to work on, but I like what I got. All right, let's touch on durability real quick before I dive into the final thoughts. You know, a lot of people ask me whether or not the matte version of a golf ball is better or worse for durability. You know, honestly, most of the time it's actually better, believe it or not. You wouldn't think it is, but based on my testing, it has been. And a prime example would be this bad boy right here, who, as you can see from this video, this is a 10 out of 10. There's no other way to say it. This golf ball still looks brand new. There's a little bit of scratching on like the Srixon Q-Star Tour lettering. If you really look close in there, you can kind of see, but there's no scrapes, there's no scratches. 80 shots through the ringer. I absolutely trust this golf ball to play another round possibly, but I'll tell you what's really cool. At one point, I thought this was going to be another victim of the lost golf ball, where it went through the net, banged into a tree, and all kinds of branches, fell down. I still don't even feel anything. Like, I mean, it's incredible. There's no other way around it. It's a 10 out of 10 durability. I would love to know if you've played with it and had issues, but I mean, based on my testing, I can't give it anything other than a perfect. That's awesome. All right, so final thoughts. You know, I really do love this golf ball. It's always been a fan favorite on the channel, but there have been some changes. You know, I love the performance as far as what I got with the distance. I love that the golf ball now has a penetrating flight for me, but it's not supposed to. And I think that what's happened is that now my swing speed is just a little too fast for it. I don't think I'm actually getting the most out of the golf ball anymore. And on one hand, yes, you can look at this and say, Nick, your distance numbers were incredible, but there was just too much inconsistency in the spin. I didn't like the low spin. I did like how it was around the green for the most part, but there's just too much left out there. I need a ball that launches a little bit higher for me personally. I do want a little bit more spin. I want some bite. So the thing is that does this golf ball get a glowing recommendation from me? Well, it does for the right crowd. So I truly believe, based on my testing and after just kind of looking at the data and seeing what I got, I think it is for the slower swing crowd. I think 75 mile an hour to 90 probably, somewhere in there. And I think that swing crowd, I think you also need to be an advanced golfer. They've made different tweaks to this golf ball, how it feels, how it reacts, how it bends. It does seem like it's for more of a tour player now, which could mean that the regular Q-Star now might have taken a step up and be a really great two-piece option for you know, the majority of players. Something else that kind of needs to be tested. So I do think that this golf ball could be worth a shot. The other big thing that hurts it, though, is the price point. You know, at this point, there's a lot of golf balls we've tested, like, you know, the Vice Air is a prime example that comes to my mind. It's the same price as this now, and frankly, I got way better results with it. I think it's still a good golf ball, but I really feel like what happened is, you know, before, this was the market and here was the Q-Star Tour, and I feel like over the last few years, the market slowly, the competition, everyone's getting better golf balls better. I just feel like the Q-Star Tour maybe hung around here because, yes, amazing distance numbers, but they increased the price. Great ball flight for me, but unfortunately, it doesn't have too much spin variation. And so what happens is it all averages out to just kind of be where it was before, but now we're up here as far as the standard. We've tested so many more golf balls, we've gotten so much more data, and it does kind of take a step back, unfortunately. I do foresee it still being a good golf ball. I foresee it probably making the top 30, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly. But unfortunately, I do think the time as far as being a top 10, top 6 golf ball, I think that's going to be over this year, unfortunately. Still don't know what could happen there, but I just really feel that the golf ball is going to be for the slower swing crowd who's really good at golf. If you're 90 or above, play a Srixon Z-Star, play a Z-Star 15. Those golf balls are incredible off the club, but we're getting ready to find out more about that because I'm getting ready to do the review here in a few days. So we'll know more then, but guys, as always, keep watching to keep saving and keep learning. Until next time.